I want to thank you all for joining us today. This is the annual general meeting of the holders of units and special voting units of SmartCentres Real Estate Investment Trust. The meeting will now come to order. Before we begin, kindly turn off your mobile devices. My name is Mitchell Goldhar, and I am the Executive Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of SmartCentres and a trustee. Before we start the formal portion of the meeting, I would like to introduce other trustees and officers of SmartCentres. In addition to myself, our current trustees are Janet Bannister, Neil Cunningham, Barry Foster, Greg Howard, Sylvie Lachance, Sharm Powell, and Michael Young to my left. In addition to myself, our officers are Peter Slan, Chief Financial Officer, Rudy Goben, Chief Portfolio and Asset Management Officer, Alan Scully, Executive Vice President Development, Paula Bustard, Executive Vice President Development, Dan Marcow, Executive Vice President and Chief People and Culture Officer. After the formal meeting, there will be a brief management presentation and an opportunity to ask questions about SmartCentres. Michael Young is the lead independent trustee of SmartCentres and will be the chairman for this meeting. Michael.
Thanks, Mitch. As this meeting is being held in person and online via live webcast, I will first set out a few matters to facilitate the orderly conduct of the meeting. Registered unit holders and policy holders who wish to vote at the meeting and cast a vote in person may do so. Ballots were provided when you signed in at the registration outside this room. Those registered unit holders and proxy holders who wish to vote at the meeting and cast a ballot online should have logged into the webcast by entering the control number listed on their proxy form. Proxy holders, including beneficial owners who appointed themselves as proxy holders, should have logged into the webcast by entering the control number they received after they appointed themselves as proxy holder and registered with Computershare. If you have logged in properly, the electronic ballot will be displayed. You are encouraged to complete your voting as soon as practical, since voting will close promptly after the conclusion of the formal business of the meeting. Be sure to stay connected to the internet at all times in order to vote when the balloting begins. If you have voted your units prior to the start of the meeting, your vote has been received by the scrutineers, and there is no need to vote during the meeting unless you wish to revoke or change once the formal items of business are moved. We will take questions received from the floor through the online messaging platform. The legal name of the submitting unit holder or proxy holder will be read aloud before the question is addressed. Questions that are redundant or that have inappropriate language or are otherwise unduly disruptive to the orderly conduct of the meeting will not be addressed. General unit holder questions that do not directly relate to the meeting's items of business will not be addressed during the meeting, but will be addressed after the meeting. Given timing delays for our online participants, unit holders who are participating online are encouraged to submit their questions at the beginning of the meeting through the online messaging platform. These questions will be addressed during the meeting if they relate to a particular matter, or will be addressed during the Q&A session immediately following the management presentation. If during the meeting we encounter any technical difficulties with the webcast, please remain logged on and we will resume as soon as possible. Forward-looking statements may be made during the formal presentation of the meeting and during the management presentation and Q&A session afterwards. Certain material factors and assumptions were applied in providing these statements, many of which are beyond our control. These statements are subject to a number of risks and uncertainties that would cause actual results to differ materially from those expressed or implied in the forward-looking statements. A summary of these underlying assumptions, risks, and uncertainties is contained in our various securities filings, including our most recent AIF and MD&A, all of which are available on SEDAR and on the SmartCentres website. Forward-looking statements are made as of today's date, and except required by applicable securities law, we undertake no obligation to publicly update or revise any such statements. We will now proceed with the formal portion of today's meeting. I will call this meeting to order. With the consent of the meeting, I appoint James Brown, to my left, legal counsel for SmartCentres, as secretary of this meeting, and Computershare Trust Company of Canada, represented today by Melissa Phillips and Kate Stevens, as scrutineers for the meeting. A notice informing unit holders of the meeting, along with a management information circular and a form of proxy, where requested, were mailed to unit holders of record of units and special voting units as of March 31st, 2026. I will use the term unit holders to refer to both holders of units and holders of special voting units. The audited financial statements and related management discussion and analysis of SmartCentres for the year ended December 31st, 2025 have also been mailed to anyone who requested to receive those documents. Computershare has provided an affidavit of mailing of the notice calling this meeting, the management information circular, and the form of proxy for the meeting. I request that copies of the notice of the meeting, the affidavit of the mailing, and the meeting materials be kept by the secretary with the records for this meeting. Unless someone objects, I propose to dispense with the reading of the notice calling this meeting. The Declaration of Trust of SmartCentres provide that the quorum for this meeting is at least two persons present and holding or representing by proxy not less than 25% of the units and special voting units. The scrutineer's report shows that there are 69 holders of units present at the meeting, holding or representing by proxy 43.78% of the issued units of SmartCentres. There are also 23 holders of special voting units present at the meeting, holding or representing by proxy 99.87% of the issued special voting units of SmartCentres. The total representation at this meeting, present in person or represented by proxy, is 63,351,263 units and 33,565,081 special voting units, being 54.35% of the units and special voting units of SmartCentres in aggregate. I declare that this meeting has been regularly called and is properly constituted for the transaction of business. The scrutineer's report will be provided to the secretary of the meeting and will be incorporated into the meeting's minutes. In order to expedite the formal part of the meeting, certain unit holders have been asked to propose and second various motions. While this procedure will assist in the handling of formal matters, it should not discourage any registered unit holder or proxy holder from speaking or submitting questions or remarks through the instant messaging service of the virtual interface in reference to any motion after it has been proposed and seconded. If you wish to speak, or when submitting a question or remark online, please indicate your name, which entity you represent, if any, and indicate whether you are a unit holder or proxy holder. In the interest of fairness to all unit holders, I would ask that you be brief with your questions or remarks, limiting them to matters directly related to the meeting. Unit holders are asked to complete their ballots, whether in person or online, and return them. Once the online poll is closed, after all items of business have been considered, the scrutineers will tabulate the votes cast and will report on the results towards the end of the meeting. The first item of business is the presentation of the audited financial statements of SmartCentres Real Estate Investment Trust for the year ended December 31st, 2025, and the auditor's report therein. The financial statements will be taken as presented to the meeting. The next item of business is to fix the aggregate number of trustees to be elected or appointed at this meeting. May I please have a motion?
I move to fix the aggregate number of trustees to be elected or appointed at the meeting at no more than 8. I second the motion.
Thank you. You have heard the motion. Are there any questions on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, we've not received any online questions or comments related to this item.
Thank you. The next item of business is the election of trustees. As stated in the Management Information Circular, the trustees of SmartCentres have adopted a policy that entitles unit holders to vote for each nominee on an individual basis. In addition, the trustees have adopted a policy stipulating that if the votes in favor of a nominee for the election of a trustee of SmartCentres represent less than a majority of the units voted and withheld, the nominee will submit his or her resignation after the meeting for the consideration of the Corporate Governance and Compensation Committee. It is proposed that the 6 nominees set out in the Management Information Circular be elected as trustees to hold office until the next annual meeting or until their successors are elected or appointed. The Penguin Group has confirmed that Greg Howard and Mitch Goldhar will be the Penguin Group appointees for the remaining 2 trustee positions of the board. I'll entertain motions for the nominations of persons to be elected to the 6 trustee positions to be determined by the unit holders of SmartCentres. The nominees for election to the 6 trustee positions to be determined by the unit holders of SmartCentres to hold office until the next annual meeting of unit holders or until their successors are elected or appointed are Janet Bannister, Neil Cunningham, Gary Foster, Sylvie Lachance, Sean Powell, and myself, Michael Young.
I nominate the nominees for trustees named in the Management Information Circular prepared for this meeting for election as trustees of the trust to hold office till the next annual meeting of unitholders or until their successors are elected or appointed.
Thank you. As no notice of additional trustee nominations was received in accordance with the SmartCentres advance notice policy, I declare nominations closed. Are there any questions or comments submitted in connection with the election of trustees?
Mr. Chairman, we have not received any questions or comments related to this item.
Okay, thank you. The next item of business is the appointment of the auditor of SmartCentres for the next year.
I move that PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP, professional accountants, be appointed auditor of SmartCentres the ensuing year, and that trustees of SmartCentres be authorized to fix the remuneration of such auditor. Second motion.
Thank you. You have heard the motion. Are there any questions or comments submitted in connection with the appointment of the auditor?
Mr. Chairman, we have not received any questions or comments related to this item.
Okay, thank you. As stated in the Management Information Circular prepared for this meeting, unit holders are asked to consider an annual non-binding advisory resolution respecting our approach to executive compensation. As this is an advisory vote, the results will not be binding upon the Board of Trustees of SmartCentres. However, the Board of Trustees will take the results of the vote into account as appropriate when considering future compensation policies, programs, and decisions. May I please have a motion?
I move that on an advisory basis, not to diminish the role and responsibilities of the Board of Trustees of SmartCentres, the approach to executive compensation as disclosed in the Management Information Circular of SmartCentres dated April 1st, 2026, be accepted. I second the motion.
Thank you. Were there any questions or comments submitted in connection with this matter?
Mr. Chairman, we have not received any questions or comments related to this item.
Great, thank you. As stated in the Management Information Circular prepared for this meeting, unit holders are asked to consider and, if thought advisable, to pass a resolution approving the adoption of a new long-term incentive plan that provides for a maximum of 1,200,000 units reserved for issuance thereunder, as more particularly set out in the Management Information Circular. May I please have a motion?
I move that the resolution approving new long-term incentive plan as set out in the Management Information Circular of SmartCentres be approved. Second motion.
Thank you. Were there any questions or comments submitted in connection with this matter?
Mr. Chairman, we have not received any questions or comments related to this item.
Thank you. As this is the last item of business, we will provide registered unit holders and duly appointed proxy holders a few more moments to complete ballots in person or to complete electronic ballots online before closing the polls. Just a few moments. Been advised we're okay. I declare the polls closed on each of the items of business. Thank you. The scrutineers will now tabulate the results and will disclose the official voting results shortly after this meeting. However, we've been advised that based on proxies received prior to the meeting, the preliminary results are as follows. With respect to the motion to fix the aggregate number of trustees to be elected or appointed at the meeting at no more than 8, majority of the votes cast by proxy were in favor of the motion. Therefore, the motion has been carried. With respect to the motion to elect the trustees, each of the 6 nominees listed in the Management Information Circular have received a majority of votes cast by proxy in favor of his or her election. Therefore, I confirm they are elected as trustees. With respect to the motion to appoint PricewaterhouseCoopers LLP as the auditor of SmartCentres for the ensuing year, the majority of the votes cast by proxy were in favor of the motion. Therefore, the motion has been carried. With respect to the motion that on an advisory basis, the approach to executive compensation as disclosed in the Management Information Circular be accepted, the majority of the votes cast by proxy were in favor of the motion. Therefore, the motion has been carried. With respect to the motion to approve and adopt the new long-term incentive plan as further described in the Management Information Circular, a majority of the votes cast by the proxy were in favor of the motion. Therefore, the motion has been carried. I direct that the results of the poll be included in the minutes of this meeting. The results of this meeting will be announced in a press release in accordance with the policies of the TSX and filed on SEDAR. Now that we have completed the formal items of the business for this meeting, I propose that we terminate the meeting.
I move.
Thank you. As there is no further business for the meeting, I declare that the meeting is terminated. Thanks, everybody, for attending today's meeting. I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the SmartCentres unit holders for their support. And Mitch Goldhar will now walk us through a short management presentation, followed by Q&A. Mitch.
You can stand.
Thank you, Michael.
That's live.
Right.
Almost.
Can you get by me too?
Yeah, right. Thanks again, Michael. That's a lot of reading. So welcome once again to our after party, after après AGM presentation. I hope that, when by the time you leave, you'll have a very clear sense of the company and what we are and where we're going. And of course, it's casual format. So if you have any questions, just go ahead and ask them at any time. And of course, at the end, we'll leave time to do that as well. So, SmartCentres, generally speaking, is a very simple approach, radically simple approach. And that is just to make decisions based on the long term. And I sort of think that's good philosophy for any business. Things don't need to be overly more complicated than that. And And that has resulted in a lot of the statistics that you see on the screen here now. And then there's other statistics on the screen that are unexplainable, given the given the long-term approach that's resulted in some of these numbers. We have 200 basically shopping centers. We really do have 200. We did not round that up or down. We will be rounding a few things up and down. I'll try and tell you when we do. But we actually have 200. They're in thoughtful locations. The vast majority of these properties, we develop them either in an earlier iteration or in the current, public company. And that's significant because we didn't build this company running around buying anything that we could that would be accretive, because there was a huge period of time where money was cheap and public companies like Canadian REITs could raise money cheaper than the acquisition price based on a yield basis. That's not the case here. Every one of these locations was sweated, just as if you were doing one property development and you thought of everything that could go wrong. It is an accumulation of 200 strategically located properties that has turned into, at the moment, 36 million square feet of income-producing properties. And just you keep in mind that 25% of that, plus or minus, income is Walmart income. And vast majority of it, the rest of it is Canadian Tire, Loblaws, TJX, et cetera, And further emphasizing the strength of that income is the fact that 88% of it is in VETCOM markets. This is 2025, so the 98.6% committed occupancy is an industry high. And we actually have an approval pipeline and a pipeline of mixed-use development that's in a range. It's almost a concept. I mean, it's almost impossible to comprehend 88 million square feet and what that represents and what that would involve developing. But we do. And of that 88 million, 60 million of it is owned. Permissions. So, and the permissions vary. Of course, a lot of it is residential to get to that number. And this is on sites that the company already owns. So if you're a shareholder, you own your share of this. It's a staggering amount, which I'll talk about in a bit. And then the assets are $12.3 billion. So with that in mind, the unit price at printing of this was $28.41. The net asset value of everything aforementioned would be the equivalent of $36.19 a share, representing a 21.5% discount. But in the meantime, not only do we offer, or does the market offer, a 21% discount on real estate that generates income and has lots of density, we will actually pay you 6.5%, 1/12 every month, in the meantime, until we see some closing of the gap there. Yeah, that's a high-level summary of the financial situation, overview of the company. In saying that we think about the long-term guides our decision making, it's not just words. This is the result of long-term thinking, because of course this means, which tenants we choose, how long their leases are. We give up We give up, rent to have more reliability in our income and occupancy. But I would take occupancy over spikes in rent any day. And part of that works for SmartCentres more so than other companies because we are also developers. So we don't need, our growth doesn't rely entirely on internal bumps. And that's not our main story. We can produce income. We can create profit out of, let's say, nothing, or the potential of opportunities out there as developers. So we're better off having a very solid, long-term, reliable income-producing properties and then tap our development acumen to grow the company, and we'll get to that in a second. Next. This is just to remind everybody that we've never cut distributions. This shows the numbers. I'm not going to say that it emphasizes the cutters, because we can't show that we've never cut distributions, really, without showing those who have cut distributions. So just happens to make its way onto the slide. And by the way, this choice, I don't remember. I'm sure somebody in the room would remember whether REIT ever cut distributions. I don't know if they did prior to the choice deal, because this is post-choice deal. So if not, I'm getting the signal they did not. They would be the other REIT that didn't cut distributions. Next slide. So had you bought SmartCentres, for all intents and purposes at IPO, if you had bought $100 worth, you'd have $1,572, and that would be otherwise a 12.4% compounded return, including the distributions, which have never been cut. And then you can see that against the REIT index and the market. Yeah, so let's get to the growth of the company. The theme of the company going forward, about what we are, where we were, what we are. Since we developed, for all intents and purposes, since we developed a SmartCentre last from scratch, this is an important stat, along with some other stats behind this. The country has grown by about 6.3 million people since we last built a SmartCentre. If we were to use sort of a rule of thumb of one SmartCentre per 100,000 people, as a catch basin, that would represent the opportunity of another 63 SmartCentres, and they average probably around 225,000 square feet, let's say, with all the anchors. So it's just a simple stat to illustrate what the potential may be for us. Why did we not build a SmartCentre? Why did we not build a SmartCentre since 2014? By the way, I think we only built one in 2014. I think the one before that might have even been 2011 or 12. So it's more than 12 years. It's more like 13, 14 years since we've had a very concerted program. The reason is that in 2010, 11, 12, the retailers that make up the majority of SmartCentres were quite preoccupied with e-commerce. And at that time, if we were sitting here in 2000, say 10 or 11, everybody would be questioning the future of retail. And everyone would believe that there could be a world without physical retail. And of course, industrial just took off, and there was a flight of capital to industrial and a lot of other things. And retail became, slowly but surely, went into the doghouse. But that's sort of a bit of an aside. The point being, though, that the Canadian immigration policy changed around that time, and we were growing by twice the rate, immigration-wise, population-wise, than the United States. But nobody, the Walmarts, the Loblawses, the Home Depots, Canadian Tires of the world, were very much inward-looking at their e-commerce platforms. I mean, I can say that in the case of Walmart, they were absolutely determined to catch up because they really were flat-footed in the 2002, 3, 4, 5, when Amazon were all in, whether they were really all in or they were just, found themselves riding a wave, and did an amazing job riding that wave. Walmart did not go like lockstep. Neither did Target. Neither did Costco. And they were all way behind. They really, at the time, I don't think really believed, e-commerce would take the kind of percentage share of retail, that it ended up taking. But by 2010, I mean, between 1997 and 2011, SmartCentres, in its then form, opened a Walmart store somewhere in Canada every 3 weeks for 14 years in a row. So if you want to think about the company's capacity to develop, that's an example of us, for 14 years, developing out the appetite of the likes of Walmart. Then it stopped. It became e-commerce. And that went until COVID. And then COVID hit. And of course, nobody wanted any physical retail. Population kept growing. And during that time, we see 6.3 million more people in the country. No, for all intents and purposes, no new retail. If anything, a lot of retail was redeveloped into residential and set the stage for where we are now. Next slide, I think. So what you have now is the companies that, are intricately weaved with everything, food, general merchandise, apparel, of the general public. That is physical retail, e-commerce, pick and pack, pick and collect, click and collect, and every other form. Among others, these are the retailers that determine how you get your stuff and at what price, whether you think so or not. And Amazon's not on there, but they're part of it, obviously. But they played their catch up. They hugely invested in e-commerce. They're major players in e-commerce, but they also can control how much you order online and how much you come in store for. And they can do that by pricing. And, it's a cat and mouse game, but the day everybody loses money on home delivery. So everybody's watching everybody and all want to lose less money on home delivery. So there's been a movement for quite some time, to lose less money on home delivery. So everybody is that it's going to be the split between e-commerce and home delivery is pretty visible now. It's not like it was 12 years ago. People weren't sure. And so that has translated into the Loblawses, for example, wanting 70 new stores in 2026. 70 new stores. I mean, that's a company. If you're a real estate company. And they do it. I mean, they've done it. We're doing a lot for us for that. And, same with Sobeys. And they're doing a fantastic job. They are absolutely not rolling over. Loblaws was the first movers in this physical retail renaissance or whatever you want to call it. But Sobeys was right behind, and we're doing as much with them as we are with Loblaws, and we're doing a lot with both. Dollarama, I think everybody knows about. They pretty much own Dollar Store. And Walmart has announced, a $6.5 billion investment in things new, mostly stores and distribution and other things. And I would say stay tuned on that front. And then even let's say more conservative Metro, Richelieu, have reacted, and they're doing quite a few new stores for them. And then there's all the complementary stuff that goes along with it. This is very dynamic. If you're Loblaws, Walmart's doing something. If you're Walmart and Loblaws doing something, you can't lose market share, and they really are all pretty much aligned that physical retail is, because physical retail is not exactly physical retail, because in the case of Walmart, for sure, they are using their stores. In the U.S., they finally have reconciled that they're going to use their stores as distribution centers. So a store is not just a physical store anymore. It's where they're going to fulfill home delivery, after all. So it's a really big boost to the security, if you will, of physical retail, because physical retail is not just physical retail anymore. Next slide. Yeah, so if we took these numbers and we played with them, just had some fun with numbers, we are this basically right now. We are 36 million square feet. We collect $914 million a year. And you add the permissions and density. We have 88 million square feet. 60 million is zoned. And then we say 62 shopping centers at 225,000 square feet each, starting with at least one anchor. And you were to total all that, and we were to build it out. It would be built out, it would be 138 million square feet. Now, we can go to the next slide. If we assume we're not going to do that, at least not in the time frame that's relevant to most of us in the room, and we just said we were going to build like 0.5% of our density a year, and we were going to say that, only 2 million of it is IPD, and I'm talking about average over the next 10 years. So I'm just painting a picture of what this company could look like, and hopefully will look like at least. You would have 500,000 square feet a year, 5 million over 10 years. Let's say we divide it this way. This would be, say, condos. And this would be multi-res and other forms of non-retail. And then you were to take the 62 shopping centers at 225,000 square feet and say, let's say we only do half of that in the next 10 years. So 31. The company would grow. I mean, if you take the 5 million and you take the 7 million, we will have developed over, 12 million square feet. We will have added 2 million of IPP, and we'd be a company that would be 9 million square feet larger with IPP and hopefully some profits from the 3 million. We thumbnail that one of those example, we call them Anytowns shopping centers, would be about 1 penny accretive. Sorry, you would contribute a penny to FFO for every one of those centers, conservatively, pretty much day one on stabilization without bumps. So that's a look. If we're a company right now, 36 million square feet, you can sort of think about the company being somewhere between, I like to think between 45 and 50 million square feet if we're able to accomplish this conservative roadmap here. I do fully anticipate we will build 30 new shopping centers for the next 10 years. Next slide. To highlight that, to put some specifics behind this, we'll show you a couple of these centers that we're referring to. These are the retailers driving what I'm describing. Here are three markets that it's manifested in. Three markets that we're willing to share with you and that we announced on our analyst call. So Kingston, Ontario. Now, when I show the names of retailers here, I'm just illustrating what's there now and understand that there's been a lot of population growth and how we could look at this market. I'm not announcing anything. I'm just saying that this is an example of a population of almost 200,000 people with one, for example, one Walmart store. And somebody might think, didn't he say one SmartCentre per 100,000 people? And SmartCentres has often had a Walmart store in it. If it was to theoretically happen in that sort of math, you would say that there's room for another SmartCentres, and it would likely be here because we just bought the land and it's zoned. So, and the site plan, I think we can show you. So we've not really shown this to anybody. This hasn't even been shown to the retail community yet, but this is what we anticipate will happen here. It's what we hope will happen here. And we don't have, per se, any contracts with anybody. But this is what we're sort of doing. This is what we do. This is our thing. Next slide. Lindsay. I went to Lindsay when I was, 30 years younger with Walmart. And we loved it. It's really a Walmart prototype market. And so I tried to buy land there, and just to give you an idea of how slowly land development can be, I literally tried to buy a property here, and the owner would not sell to me, and he was determined to do his own thing, and he never got around to doing it. And because we bumped into the 2011 moratorium, if you will, on new stores, this market just continued to grow. And when the GTA became too expensive and all the real estate developers of Toronto, home builders, decided to go to bedroom communities, Lindsay was one of them. And so all this land here is owned, 1,200 acres is owned by Tribute, Toronto developer. And they're building homes there. They're not the only ones. Anyway, it's a prototype town. Next slide. So we've made a deal there. It's been recently approved. We're hoping, we have no contracts, but we're hoping to develop something that looks like this, which looks very much like a SmartCentre. And this would be an anchor. This lease would have 20 years plus options. This would have bumps every 5 years, and this would be the complementary retail. That pad in the corner, these things are all negotiated. We wanted to build one there and there. This retailer didn't want one in each corner, so they didn't want either one actually. So we split the difference, and we ended up with one pad there. That'll be a very desirable unit for somebody. And this will just be if this happens, this will be just a blue chip for the next, many, many decades. That's Highway 35, goes up to the core of this. The town is 27,000. It is the regional seat, has a hospital and very solid employment. But it trades for, 25, 30 kilometers around it. Perfect size, just a killer efficient 16 acres with, an anchor, great access, signalized access here, and that's all new homes. This is a prototype for the retailer that we're hoping to have there. Next. Yeah, so Winnipeg is 1 million people basically. And see, by a rule of thumb that we would use, let's say there would be room for more than one Walmart store. Again, we have no commitments, but we're anticipating this as a possibility. Winnipeg, is a great market for Walmart. When Walmart came to Canada, they entered buying Woco. Some of you would remember Woco. Woco had great coverage in all the least sort of sexy, if you will, markets. They were very dominant in Winnipeg. So Walmart bought Woco. They had instant dominant market share and have always had a great relationship with the customer in Winnipeg. The other market they dominated was Newfoundland. So when I was working with Walmart in the early days, they didn't really know Canada that well. It's like, hey, what do you know about Winnipeg? What do you know about Newfoundland? Because, we're buying Woco and they really own those markets. I said, okay, well, we have lots of work to do in Ontario. One of the things that we ended up with at Winnipeg was what's called Unicity Mall, and it was known for being a terrible mall, and it had I think it had a bay in it or something. But anyway, I remember it was a mall. It was enclosed. It was a mini mall, so it was just it wasn't large enough to be a draw for fashion. And it was not small enough to just be, demalled. It was just right in the middle. Can't remember who made the deal with, but Mark Bro, I think. Can't remember. I think it was Mark Bro. Anyway, so I made a deal with Walmart, to come to Unicity. We used to call it Unabomber, because it was so bad, and that's basically, we wanted to just blow it up. So just imagine it had a bay on one end that they so badly wanted to get out of, but they had an old operating clause obligation to operate, but their rent was like $2. So of course we wanted to get rid of them, but on the other hand, they wanted to get out. But then when we bought it, they figured like we want them to get out, so they don't want to get out. Now they want to stay, and so they would try and get us to pay them to leave. So it was a bit of a cat and mouse, and so I'm so focused on getting them out and make a deal. Okay, fine. So we vacate the bay, and most of the other leases in the mall were short-term leases, except for one. So we got First, we went to council, and we asked for an approval to demall and build a Walmart store and demall the Unicity. Well, all the seniors from the area loved going there and walking around, so they came out to council to try and convince council not to approve the deballing. But we really thought we had the votes. I mean, they all wanted Winnipeg. They were looking for, this reinvigoration of retail. So they vote in favor, and sentimentally they acknowledge that there's history with Unicity, but they approved it. So we all are happy. We get the news. I wasn't at the council meeting. We get the news. The council approved the Unicity conversion to an enclosable. And then the next day we hear that somebody appealed the approval on the grounds that one of the council members got up during the meeting, during the presentation, to go take a pee. Okay? So just keep in mind, being a Walmart developer all those years, you've heard it all, and everybody was trying to stop Walmart everywhere. Nobody put the red carpet out back then. And so this was back then. So somebody says that one of the councillors during the presentation went and took a pee. So technically, legally, the councillor did not hear the entire argument against the Walmart approval and the redevelopment of the mall. And it went to court, and we lost. And we had to apply all over again. And we won. And we devolved it. Sorry. And we vacated it. Except there was one tenant who was 1,200 square feet, who had term. It was a hair salon. So we had a 550,000 square foot enclosed mall, completely vacated, that we legally had to open every day the mall. The hair salon was in the middle of the mall, open the mall, so every day, and close the mall every day for this hair salon who was trying to, basically, we offered everything to try and get them to leave for a long time. And then eventually we made a deal with them. It took a long time. I tell you this story because I was finding some things here, and Michael was reading all those, all those things, and I was actually thinking I was going to go to the bathroom. And I knew I was going to be telling you about Winnipeg, and I was thinking to myself, am I allowed to leave to go to the bathroom while these things are being read? Will they not actually be technically passed if there's not, whatever quorum and whatnot? So that made me think of it. And so we're back. We're back in Winnipeg. This one's pretty much greenfield, straightforward. So wonderful, wonderful property. It's zoned. If you can go to the next one. It's a pretty simple one. Be a large tenant there and not a lot of retail, but just a beautiful bread and butter, flat as a pancake, Winnipeg, flat as a pancake. And the Costco, there's a Costco going next door over here. It's just going to completely change this area. So it just gives you an example of three of, you can see there's just three of potential blank number of new smart centers potential across a country that grew 6 million people over the last dozen years, with retailers who are very dominant in this country and didn't grow. And they come to us because this is our natural habitat. This is our bread and butter. And so we're busy. Next slide. This one is just an update. We have an outlet center. If you haven't been there, you really got to go there. It's probably our most valuable asset, single asset in the company. 401 in Trafalgar, in Halton Hills. This is just to tell everybody that in addition to everything we just talked about, there's lots of other things happening. And we're just highlighting a few of them. These are all going on at the same time. It's at this company that trades at a 21% discount to its NAV. Okay? So Simon, who are our partners here, who are expert, they are exceptional at what they do, have been doing the leasing, and we've got 50% of the expansion leased. It's a bit of a piece of surgery. We've got to add a parking deck before we add on the retail. So we've got to do some. It's a real, a wire act. But we will be adding 80,000 square feet? 85,000 square feet shall lot, considering the average tenant size there is probably 4,000 or 5,000 feet. And the retailers that we're going to be adding, I mean, I'm not a huge shopper actually. But if you are a outlet center shopper, you will be excited by some of the names that will be coming here. This thing is one of the top outlet centers in the world. Premium Outlets is the #1 outlet center chain in the world. And this is in their top 3, and they're all across the world. It's a 110 million square foot expansion. We've got approvals. We've got the working drawings done. We've gone to tender, and we will commence construction here soon. Yeah, it's all right there. You can see the expansion. We wish we had more land there, but making the most of what we've got. Next. Yeah, most people don't get as excited as us about the picture of a parking deck, but that does excite us. At SmartCentres. Okay, next. That's the oxygen, This is an update on a 200,000 square foot, Canadian Tire, which will be a flagship because it's right around the corner from their office. It's a multi-level Canadian Tire. It's a relocation from Eglinton and Laird. This is a SmartCentre right here, in Leaside, in Toronto. And that Canadian Tire is a 20-year lease. It's not a sale. This is our neighbor who is loving us right now. So this is meant to be turned over this summer. We will be turning this over to Canadian Tire, and that rent will commence sometime in the fall, I believe, or maybe just in the new year. Hard to read this plan, but it's a lot of parking under the building. You'll go here and you'll park underground. There's underground and surface parking under the building. Yeah, next slide. And the other sort of steady blue chip growth lever is our self-storage program with SmartStop. And I'll remind you that SmartStop is why we chose them. We don't base who we partner with based on their skills or expertise. We go based on their name. And, so obviously we chose SmartStop. I don't know what the hell they're doing, but it just fits so well with us. So we just keep going with it, and it's working out so far. No, actually they are amazing. Love the fact that they were small in the U.S. They didn't think they could compete with the giants when storage was really raging in the U.S., so they looked at Canada. And Michael Schwartz turned out to be, along with his company, they've gone public, turned out to be a great partner. And they're great operators. They make us look good, kind of like Simon. They make us look good, kind of like all our retailers. They make us look good. They make us look good. They operate these. And I think they actually look good, too. And we're not afraid or ashamed to put these on our shopping centers wherever we've got a nook or cranny. They don't need a lot of parking. A lot of the density is in the air. They're not offensive. We don't have trouble getting them approved. And we work very well together in finding new locations. So we've surpassed, I think, 1 million square feet our share of storage in this program, and it will just continue to chug along, kind of along the lines and paces of what we've been doing. Next. So these are under construction, and each one of these is, I think, about 120, 30, 40,000 square feet. And then we're anticipating to start in New West. Yeah, you can read it. And next year there'll be another 3 or 4 or 5. We'll do 3 or 4 or 5 of these a year for the next number of years, so foreseeable future. And we keep an eye on the storage industry. I mean, we're not oblivious to the fact that, you know, there's other people building them. Next. And just a quick update, we do have a condo under construction, so this really enables me to show you and remind you that SmartCentres owns, you know, like approximately 100 acres of land on the subway line in Vaughan. Now, you know, this is not the north anymore. I mean, the city has grown so astronomically, and it is strategically located because, of course, you've got the subway, which is right in the middle, a bus terminal that takes everybody from York Region to the subway right here, both of those things coming right to the property. But not just that, we've got Viva crossing all the York Region municipalities and over to Brampton, bringing everybody to the subway. And that thing there gets you down under the street. You don't have to cross that grade into the subway. That really is the supercharge, the fertilizer of this development, not just ours, but others around us. We're zoned for 20 million square feet. We've only built 3.4 million square feet of it. It's starting to look like and feel like a city center that it's planned to be and zoned to be. The one building we've built what you see here. This is not built. This is under construction. This is under construction. Right now. Yes. This, we're probably going to start building next year. This little 5-story rental. And we have something cooking for an office building here, a new office building, which will be to be announced at a later date. And this, I think, next slide shows you the condo that is under construction. So we built, in anticipation of future density, we built 3 levels of underground garage here. So it's a pay-forward situation. Long-term approach, long-term minded approach. This will be a combination of commuter parking and parking for the first tower, the future tower, the rental building that I just mentioned, a little jewel box building there, which is very, very small and not parking intensive. And if we build an office tower, it's going to be here, and we're going to utilize this parking and not build parking underneath that. So yeah, you know, we're developers. This is the old Walmart store that we relocated, and for now we'll leave it there until. Well, actually, we're looking to demolish that. Actually, at this moment. And so this tower used to be bigger, but when the music stopped on condos, we had sold, I'd say we had sold 3/4 of the building. And we didn't like the idea of having 25% yet to sell. And that was because we held it back. We didn't want to sell certain floors. We hadn't decided what we were going to do on the lower floors or the top floors from a mechanical, electrical, and other point of view. Plus, we thought maybe there'll be a little bit more sort of juice in the lemon. Eventually, we reconciled on our mechanicals, electricals, and so on, and the market was gone. So basically, we just shrunk the building. So the building is, for all intents and purposes, sold out with a few units available. And we got, you know, significant deposits on a significant price. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when closing time comes. I think if it was today, we'd have some defaults, even though they've got 20% of an average of $1,150 or $75 a square foot. It's hard to say what people would do. But we don't have to worry about it today. It's a year or so away. Or more. Next. I think that's it. Sure you guys all want to get out of here. Any questions, comments, complaints, queries?
One question online. It's around why is SmartCentres traded at such a high distribution, or put another way, at a high discount relative to its peers?
We're not 100% sure. I mean, that's just a fact. We'll do everything we can to give all the information that we think would result in the units going up higher. I mean, they've gone up a bit in the last 6 months, but it's a long way from NAV. We're not 100% sure. We're not sure whether people don't feel they have to buy it now, because in a lot of the, I guess, the growth is development, so it takes a bit. Mind you, this kind of development doesn't take that long anymore. The high-rise did. But that's no longer an explanation, because the fact is that if you bought this stock and you got Walmart rents and, you got a 5.5% return, you would be doing well. You can buy this stock and get 6-7%, and it's a very secure income. It's really hard to explain. I don't want to get into some of the other fringe theories. Retail was in the doghouse at some point for a while. It's never really fully come out of the doghouse. There's no good explanation. Just buy it. Yeah, it's true though. It's funny. It seems funny, but the fact is that sometimes things are just too easy. Just you go to money managers and you'll listen to all their theories about how you should invest and what you should do, and then you'll just keep an eye on it. You'll see in 2-3 years from now, you'll find out you got 5%, 6%. You'll end up at between 5 and 7%. Okay, I'll buy you a coffee if you do better. From all your gesticulating, all your, no offense, all the big brains, will invest your money for you. They'll take fees. You'll spend a lot of time, and you'll end up somewhere in between. You will talk about the home runs, but you won't tell everybody about what you're averaging. And it'll be between 5 and 7%. Or you can just buy this and, go spare yourself. Go play pickleball. Any other questions, comments? We really always appreciate, because of course everybody here are family and or very friendly faces and people we've worked with for so long, and everybody's busy, very, very busy. Everybody in this room has more to do than they have time to do it, and we know what it takes to be here, and once you're here it's nice, but I know what it's like, and seeing you all here is very, very much appreciated. If you wonder, or you don't wonder, that when you come, you just show your face that it's very, very much appreciated. It's great to see everybody in person, and most everybody here, supports us, and so we thank you very, very much for that and for coming. So have a good day.